got that like you, 'cause you got that something that I need in my life.
Scary.
Would you say inevitable?
For Hanwha Life Esports? I wouldn't say inevitable just because it is Hanwha Life, right? Like, they're a team that does have a lot of players that have a fair bit of tenacity, but they're going to need a lot more Chemtech souls to make me believe, as the Elise going to be the first ban on their side. The Aphelios taken away as well, as the Annie taken off the table. So, Hanwha Life, look, I hazard a guess that a Zeri first pick is what they're looking for as well. But see what Gen.G are going to be able to ban away to potentially alleviate that, as Caitlyn taken off the board as well. So it's actually really hard, because if Gen.G ban the Zeri, then Viper is very happy to crush on a Lucian lane. And that is not something that Paze can do in response, because his Lucian hasn't been as good.
I'd expect this to be a Lucian. Then if they go Zeri, you can go Varus Karma or Varus Heimer, and then good luck with whatever Hanwha is playing. That's going to be a very tough lane. I already mentioned, I don't think Pace has been nearly as good on more aggressive laners, but the Varus is an exception. He has been able to, with both forms, have an incredible amount of laning pressure. Also, of course, credit goes to Delight there, but it is going to be the Zeri instead, and that does mean that a Lucian first pick is available here for Hanwha Life, who would also force Gen.G to go for something a little bit different here.
The Varus seemingly too dangerous. So the Lucian lane, not something that they're going to go towards, unless, you know, you're flexing Varus in a mid lane or something. But there is, oh, okay, never mind. Okay, Lucian will be locked in. And so Gen.G, I mean, it could be Varus Ashe. Like, they could just actually have the archery lane. It's not as powerful as it used to be, but it is still very difficult to deal with.
And Gen.G could also pick up a priority jungler here. We have seen the Lee rise in prio as I personally hope that they're not going to actually show what they're going to pick with this. For obvious reasons, I do think that the Xayah and Rakan actually struggle because of how easy it is to force out a Feather Storm, right? Yeah. With just a calling or even an aggressive dash forward. The Elise is taken away there, so that does kind of take away from some of the impact. But if Clid gets a Lee or Lucian, Nami, still a lane that is going to sufficiently scare you. Peanut with the Vi at the very least going to be able to have some early presence in the jungle here. Vi, of course, is a jungler that spikes hard on 6, but unlike, say, the Wukong, can also scrap with a lot of the current meta picks, as Zeka doing a fun throwback. And the Wukong here, I would like to see avoided. My main issue with the Wukong is that it doesn't necessarily provide the early game pressure that I think Hanwha Life should be looking for here.
Yeah, with a Lucian Nami, you want to be able to have at least the ability to threaten a dive on some of these stacked waves that we're seeing in the earlier levels. Gen.G going to be locking away the Xayah here for Paze. So already feeling a little bit better for Hanwha's ability to play in the early stage of the game, but nothing really shown here on Gen.G's side. I think they're still also pretty pleased, and I think the Wukong stands out to me as well, Chronicler. I think that, like, that could have been a Jace. That could have been a lot of different things that could have been used very flexibly to create some of these more early game compositions. And in fact, like, this is what D+ smashed them with in the one game that they won against them, was the Lucian Sona plus Jace opening 3 picks.
And Hanwha Life still remains the same team, so I'm not surprised to see them go for something with more team fighting power. But it does remain to be seen how effective it is actually going to be, as the Jax going to get taken away here. And a R4 Gnar is a staple for many a team, Gen.G included. And with that cannon ban, I actually think that it makes it more likely, so I would expect Hanwha Life to also ban the Gnar to prevent that exact scenario. Another one is Renekton, of course, can go over the Renekton here, and Chovy can pick whatever he would like in the final part of the draft. Could even be a Ahri again. Ahri Vi is a combination that we know is very strong, and Hanwha Life are going to have to blind pick their mid laner, most likely. Generally, with how Gen.G operates, I would expect them to pick something for Doran here, be that a K'Sante or a Gnar, and there is indeed the Ahri ban to come free. Do think that makes a ton of sense here.
And Taliyah is a champion that hasn't been doing a lot of winning here in the LCK, in the playoffs especially. but is sort of standing out as one of the options that he could go towards. Instead, the flex pick in the Cassante going to be looked at. 3 seconds to go, and they will lock that one in. So Doran could be playing it, Chovy could be playing it, keeping things up in the air as we look for some solo lanes out of Hanwha Life Esports. King in a whole bunch of things that he can go towards. Plenty of options here for him, and his Gnar, a possibility, might be the Chovy Silas angle if there is a Gnar on the opposing side, but we'll see where he does actually decide to go. Could be a difficult lane to get any sort of priority in.
And I'm wondering when are we going to see Veigar? Pick that has been kind of under the radar in this series thus far. And I do think into the Gen.G composition with a relatively limited range, that could be a solution here. Thank you, Zeka.
There it is. We're going to see it now.
Hey, nice.
As it turns out.
Perfect. So, Chovy, what is your answer? That's...
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh. Well, Gen.G are going to try to do exactly the same thing as they did in the previous game. Look at that top side. If scaling bot lane, of course, in the last game, the scaling bot lane got ahead, so everything was chaos. But Vi Lissandra, we'll have a pretty good idea of how this game is going to go after the first 2 skirmishes, Atlas, because either Gen.G stomp them, and then they're on track, or they lose, and in that case, the Hanwha composition is looking mighty fine.
Yeah, Cassandra doesn't do a lot of damage if you don't get a whole bunch of kills early on. And in fact, I don't think we've seen it be successful at all here in the LCK. If Gen.G managed to do it here, I think it'll be the first time this season that Cassante Lissandra has actually been able to find a win.
After that first game, though, I think Gen.G is up to the challenge.
I think
that's
so too.
the main thing.
If you're gonna ever bet on a team to be able to figure out a way to make it work, I think that this is certainly one of them. However, with the fact that Blue Side has not lost a game in the last 6, maybe that's also something to take into consideration here. I still think that Hanwha Life are going to be feeling a lot better with this particular draft, but the play is also going to have to adapt and change, right? And if Life is continuing to be on the same form that he was in game number 1, you can have any draft that you want, and things are still going to look rough. So I hope that Dandy has given them some of Dandy's secret stuff, you know, in the back room. You know, they've come out of the coach's booth feeling a whole lot better moving into this game. As I feel like I have upped the amount of Space Jam references this season. So I apologize if you don't like Space Jam. Otherwise, you're welcome. And yeah, I think Cassandra is going to happen.
I can see it. I'm a believer. I think Gen.G is going to make the 2-zip.
Well, let's see whether it works as we hop onto the Rift here for game number 2. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2, Gen.G, already out to a phenomenal start here in game number 1. And we have to remember that last time Hanwha Life Esports were able to win a best of 5. It was only a couple of days ago, so we don't need to jog the memory too much. They were able to get a red side win in game 1 straight out of the gate. And so started off with a lot more momentum in that particular series. Gen.G gonna have to force something else out of Hanwha Life this time. And history also going to be weighing on these players. Life, of course. You know, this is the first time that he's been not playing for Gen.G in many, many years, and is now facing down his opposite number. They've been able to win 1 game since he moved squads.
That's not a lot of games.
No.
Actually, it's not even games. It's just game.
It's in the game.
What?
It's more than a game.
I'm not asking for platitudes here, Atlas. I was just stating that factually it is just 1 game.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I was more just talking about WCG and that really cool song that they had a million years ago. As Zeka going to have to deal with Chovy yelling at him and throwing ice around. That is what the Lissandra does, especially here in Korea. Mainly focused on the yelling part. So apologies. To
Is this just Jonah Strong's way of saying hello? Here she is again. If in case you forgot. Because none of these laning phase should be too action-packed here in the first few levels. But this one definitely isn't.
No, this is not where all of the action is going to be coming from. Also, here, having a look at this bottom lane, Viper and Life haven't been the more aggressive Lucian Namis in the laning phase, but I feel like Viper's mid-game on this champion has been very, very powerful. It's interesting because it's kind of Viper, Deft, and Gumayusi that play the Lucian the best here in the LCK, but they also play it differently. I think that like Gumayusi is just permanently hyper-aggressive, Deft very aggressive in the lane, and Viper more aggressive around the mid-game and getting things done in mid lane to get control of the map.
Yeah, T1 is the obvious example because of how well they play with Owner.
Yeah, they also just win
pressure.
Everything all the time. So
yeah,
it's like the sample size.
It helps a lot. But I do agree with your assessment, and it's also I think one of the big reasons why we have seen pace struggle is because his Lucian actually looked best in late game team fights, which is not where it's, at that point, like, you're already in trouble, right? If you got into like the late game of Lucian and you haven't been able to snowball the game, it's going to be very hard to play out. Nicely done there from Viper and Life. Free summoner, although I guess they both exhaust, so...
Yeah, I guess Life had used his exhaust a little while earlier.
Yeah, it's an even trade.
But it looked to
I thought it was free.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good deal.
It did look free from where we picked up.
But it wasn't free.
No.
They just paid for it.
They did. It was exhaust for exhaust. So did they even really pay for it, or is it just an agreement? You know, if you just both throw away something,
well, no, you still
is that paying for anything?
Well, no, it's a fair payment, but you're still, you know, you're still creating a contract where like you use exhaust and then I use exhaust. And
yeah, okay.
And then you handshake it.
It's like
fascinating.
It's
fascinating topic.
It's like if I walked over to you and said, "I will pay you $1 to throw your dollar in the bin."
Yes, that is a valid contract in many a place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What does it get you?
Well,
like, why would you do it?
It doesn't need to get you anything.
Doran is in trouble. Kingen gonna flash and not actually pick up first blood against the Cassante, and now both of these top laners don't have flash. The teleport is going to bring Doran back here, and he won't have control of the wave. That is the big positive here for Kingen on the Gnar. But for both junglers, these top lanes have started to look a lot more interesting.
That's a reminder for everyone to eat your cookies.
Yes. And drink your potions.
And drink your potions when you have them. Man, if Kingen actually gets the kill there, that's humongous. If he's able to just win with a flash or get a flash advantage there, that's also big. Now it's kind of whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Both top laners will be a lot more susceptible, but I do think when you look at the matchup, Vi should have a much easier time ganking a Gnar without flash, particularly in mini, than a Wukong 3-6 will have with a Cassante. Cassante in general, I think, very hard to gank, very slippery, and that is going to be the first Drake. We are having high impact Drakes individually early on here.
Imagine if it was a Mountain Rift. That would be insane. As Clid moving up towards his top side. Peanut going to join him here as well, as Kingen charging that Gnar bar. It's actually in a decent spot. They don't have... Yeah, the Q doesn't land. And Doran just playing with it. Okay, Kingen gonna dive on forward. He's got the Gnar available, throws the house to the wind. And Clid, no Cyclone or anything like that, so Doran's gonna be absolutely fine. Cassante has a few dashes, guys, is kind of how that one goes. Circle of Frost comes in, and Chovy put into a cage, and just takes some Dark Matter. Doesn't seem to worry about it.
Peanut going in aggressive here. Does have Chovy on the backup, and they just is gonna look at Clid.
Yeah. Menacingly.
Menacingly.
I was very intimidated by the fact that he just sort of walked and looked like he didn't even notice.
Are they just gonna... Oh, this is hard forced.
Well, Clid is going to be in the area. Wasn't able to get level 6 or anything like that as Chovy moves on in. He's got Frozen Tomb, and this is just... Like, what do you do against this, right? Like, Chovy can dive so easily. And Kingen's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm done. I don't want anything. I don't want any part of this. He gets the flash, but that is going to be it. He gets lit on fire as well as he's trying to kite it out, but it's not going to work. And first blood goes to Chovy on the Lissandra.
And this is one of the prerequisites of playing Lissandra. You can't just sit and wait, right? You got to get out on the map. You got to win skirmishes. You got to make plays. It's very ham-fisted, But if it works, right? Like, as pointed out, Wukong pre-6 can't really do anything about this. Might even get in trouble here.
Well, I think he'll have Warrior Trickster available. So Peanut not going to be diving anything or anything like that. Was able to secure the Grump. If he didn't get that, then I think Peanut probably just kills him.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably will. And even now, Peanut's still happy, right? Forced to back. Can't go in there because King, of course, is walking back from base. But still, Gen.G taking control of the early game again here.
Yeah, 1,000 gold going to be the lead. As Viper and Life with a lot more control here on this bottom side. No one's died just yet. Things very, very even. But if you're going just dead even with a Xayah lane, you're not winning enough, is kind of how it is. As we have a look at this one more time, do we need this replay? Poor King. Just running away.
Look at the counterplay that's available to him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can't do anything about this, unfortunately. Very well set up, though, by Gen.G. Doran is able to not only tank the incoming gank, right, stays alive, knows where Clit is, but then Gen.G also make the response. Hanwha Life is a Gnar in a mini form is definitely susceptible, but actually making use of it is not something that we've seen a lot of teams do consistently. Great start here for Gen.G, and as you're pointing out, Atlas, Paze and Delight are completely fine. They've just been able to skill evenly. Viper also going for a Dirk, so further solidifying that he wants to try and look for early plays, but not finding any thus far. And if that remains the case, and Paze can just get to his guild force, from that point on, I do think it'll be a lot harder to consistently find plays. And the Lucian is going to be somewhat behind. Nami doesn't get the snowball, doesn't get to sell her boots anymore. It's not a thing.
No.
It's going to take a lot longer.
Very, very difficult when the thrift store has been closed on Summoner's Rift. Now, is King going to get hyperly procced? Throw some Qs around, does Doran. And Peanut up here looking to set up the first Rift Herald. And I really love how HLE are playing around the K-Sandra, because it does have so much of this early power. And so instead of just saying, oh, well, now we've got insurance in our lanes, they're like, well, we're just going to take everything.
They should.
And we're going to see 100%. Whether you'll actually do anything about it. And in those situations, Gen.G are so powerful. Really is great understanding of how to make this one work. As Clid,
he knows.
Yeah, he does. And he's just going to lose his blue buff. Peanut just going to get out of there. And this is, it sort of has been, during these playoffs, one of the big issues with picking the Wukong. Yes, if you make it to late game, he's fantastic. You know, the ability to use the Cyclone to create team fights that are so in your favor is great. But if he gets put behind like this, it does become difficult. He's not actually that far behind, though. So Peanut just coming in and taking his lunch money with the fact that the map is completely out of control.
And my main issue is...
as before. Okay, Cullen going to be used here as Paze pulls back some feathers, but Viper says, nope. I will just continue hurting you.
My main issue is that I still think that the Hanwha Life comp has a lot of power. I think the Veigar helps a lot. But it's not like they win late game by default, right? Like, I do want to reiterate that, is that, yes, the composition from G can lack some damage when we get to the later stage of the game. They have a rather one-sided damage profile with Paze really going to have to do the heavy lifting. But even late game, overstep and like Peanut and Chovy still will kill you very, very quickly. And Hanwha Life not finding any leads here, and not being able to withstand anything that's been happening thus far, probably also going to lose this next dragon, is really worrying to me, because you can't win a best of 5 by just hanging back and waiting for your opponent to make a mistake.
Well, I mean, you can, because they just did 2 days ago.
Okay, against Gen.G.
Right, okay.
Didn't let me fin.
Well, we'll see. We'll see whether that is actually the truth, because we haven't seen Gen.G with this roster in best of 5s outside of the last game, and that was definitely a good sign. We cannot be counting our chickens, for they are still eggs. Before they hatch.
Are they in the basket yet?
No.
They're not in the basket.
Nope, we haven't.
And they're not hatched.
Nope.
Are those the same eggs?
No, I think they're from the fridge.
Oh, no, we don't.
I think they're just straight out of the fridge.
Not going to have this discussion again as Chovy goes in.
Yeah, Zeker is going to flash. That is going to avoid the follow-up, but still, that means that there is no flash. And now we have a Chemtexel. I knew it. Dan's here, and so therefore, Chemtexel. So actually, bit of breath of fresh air which is weird because it's Chemtech, for Hanwha Life Esports, with the fact that the Gen.G soul is not going to be something that just instantly wins them the game, like a mountain would have been, for example, or a cloud, the greatest Drake in the game.
Yeah, it would have been incredible. Not going to be the case here, but now Zeka doesn't have flash. And you remember the counterplay, right?
Yeah.
For Kingen? Let's see if they can do it again.
Well, he's going to have to put up a house to hang out in as the exhaust comes through. They are hanging out underneath this turret as Chovy going to go golden and keep himself alive as they needed to keep tanking it. Really nicely done there. Juggling the aggro, and Zeka just going to be free food here for Gen.G.
I also don't think Viper and Life got the plate on bot side. I'm pretty sure I didn't see the goal go over. Maybe they were zoned away. Turret gonna be hit here by Shirley. Kingen gets a plate on top. That is nice. Plate gold is also gonna be forfeited here. But Gen.G are still sitting on an almost 2k gold lead now, early on in the game.
Yeah.
Making great use of this Lissandra.
And that really just doesn't look like Hanwha had any ability to do anything. Like, these set plays that Gen.G have been throwing out around this rift have been orchestrated to make sure that there is no way to deal with it.
Just play safe mid.
Yeah.
Like Zeka does as well as he can, right? Like exhaust Chovy, clears the wave so that they actually have to dive or to tank the turret, but doesn't matter.
Well, Doran says, if at first you succeed, come back and do it again because it's fun to get things right. But he just does walk past.
Is that the Australian version?
No, I think that's just it's the wrong version. It's the version that isn't actually real and isn't a saying.
Could have come away with it, Atlas.
No.
We would have all believed you.
I'm not about that. I need to make sure that everyone... Okay, never mind. Featherstorm coming down towards his bottom side. Cleanse has to be used immediately. The culling going to be thrown out, and Viper gets a bit of value, but not exactly going to be killing anyone. Featherstorm being on cooldown, that is big news, but there is still a cleanse there for Pays. Summoner spells in advantage here for Gen.G.
And particularly with a Lissandra in the game, I think the cleanse from Viper is actually, it's really big, right? Featherstorm is a big cooldown, will be unavailable here for a decent amount. And I'm pretty sure that they'll have both up by the time the next Dragon rolls around, so might not end up mattering too much, but I really, really value cleanse when there is a Lissandra in the game for very obvious reasons. There just isn't anything that you can do, right? You can't outplay it. You can't get away from it. If Chovy finds the angle, you're just going to be in deep trouble here. And the good thing for Hanwha is that they are stabilizing, right? Or they've stabilized, rather. It's a 2k lead, give or take, for Gen.G. But the soul isn't too relevant, and they still have, even with Viper on a more bursty AD carry, an incredible amount of late-game team fighting power with Wukong and Veigar and Gnar. But I think that lead is going to keep growing, Atlas.
We'll see whether it will, as this is a good start. They will take first turret here towards this top side, stretching it to about 3,000. Next Rift Herald going to be up in 45 seconds time, as well as Gen.G move Pays towards this mid lane. And cleared. Cycloning Doran here, and clearing out a mini wave. Life will turn up. Now Doran, how many dashes do you have? Quite a few. Let's see how your surfing is, and he doesn't actually have to. That is cleared, grabbing the first kill here for Hanwha Life Esports. They'll need a bit more than that, but it's a good start.
Optimistic flash there from Doran. Does end up going down. Nicely done by Hanwha Life. This is how it starts. Got to find those pickoffs. Got to take away some of the map control, some of the tempo from Gen.G. Taking out a Cassante, who often feels safe shoving in side lanes because with his ultimate and his mobility can be a very hard target to take down. As, yeah, Doran's like, I'll just shove out this wave. And nicely done here by Clid. Doran can't find an angle, isn't able to actually, get one of those big, like Faker did, Cassante ultimates where you isolate him and then just against Clid. He might still die.
Well, that is Zeka in a bit of trouble here. He puts down the cage, but who's trapped in where with whom? And I think it's him being trapped there with Peanut and Chovy. They'll lock down yet another kill.
And like clockwork, every single time we see someone of Hanwha Life die, Viper's like, I gotta get it done. I gotta do something. Is very strong right now, as you can see there from that chunk onto life with his Guild Force done, Mandate's there, and he also has a Dirk and a Kirchai Shard, I want to say.
Yeah. The Zappy Dagger.
Zappy Dagger, thank you.
Yeah.
But more importantly, like, it doesn't matter because Gen.G is still the one in control. They get the topside play, and they're feeding Chovy, which I think is actually really big because one of the issues that we pointed out with their composition is that they can lack damage. But if Lissandra is out of the curve, gets very fed, then Chovy will still do more than enough.
Oh, yeah.
And losing control of the game, which could happen if this mid lane turret ends up falling, and I think is likely with Herald now being taken here, isn't really worth getting an individual Drake for us. Zeka is like, oh man, just let me play the game, please. Oh my god, they're not even going to use it on mid.
Yeah, Peanut's going to say, yes, I will allow you to play the game. Play the game into this. As, yeah, I don't think he's got enough Dark Matter. As Peanut's tanking the turret, still looks like he's going to be fine because the turret is just already dead. The wave going to come through. Zeka will survive, but it's already enough. As Clid throws down the Cyclone just to try and keep this outer turret up, and he will be able to succeed in that. That is another cooldown used very defensively on Hanwha's side. And they're just firefighters right now. They're not even playing League of Legends. They're just putting out fires across the map.
And they don't get the kill on Zeka, sure, but they still get the turret, right? The inner is worth an incredible amount of gold. It's going to further accelerate Gen.G. And yeah, them not being able to get a kill doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Chovy also able to get his Zhonyas now. And it's this aggressive play, another ulti. They're going to hold on to this mid turret, and I think that's a really good call. If you lose this against a Lissandra and Vi composition, like, you don't get to play the game anymore. Because you don't get to walk into your own jungle. Everything is going to be warded out. You're going to be shut out of vision. And that's where the game truly becomes unplayable. Right now, as long as they can hold on to that, I think there is still hope, even though the gold lead for Gen.G keeps growing here.
We'll see. 3.5 minutes until the next Chemtech Drake is available. Kingen, just farming things towards his bottom side, does have his Trinity Force done. And Chovy, most gold in the game, but Peanut right behind him. Actually been a great game for Peanut's Vi this time around. He's just been everywhere. The way he's played so far forward into Hanwha Life has just been absolutely fantastic. Precisely what they need to do with this composition.
It's why we, I think, always get a little bit worried when you see things like Vi and Lissandra, because this is the situation in which it looks like super busted, right? Like, that topside play.
But you need to be that proactive, right?
You need to. And a lot of teams don't always get that done. In this game, Gen.G is able to. For now, I still am worried if they don't keep accelerating for them being able to do this into a late game. Veigar, as, yeah, just great smoke out on Zeka here.
Oh, and he was still in vision.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Very sad times. Peanut is able to get the ultimate off, and then Chovy picks up the kill. Really big moment here. As it is these type of moments that get this Lissandra further and further ahead. As mentioned, 2 items right now, 2 stacks as well. Oh no.
Well, I don't know whether Kingen is surviving this one. Does throw the Vi around, but there's a cease and desist, and yeah, Chovy will still be able to lock down the kill. This ganking duo, we were talking about the Ahri, right? And Hanwha Life Esports, they were scared of the Ahri.
Yep.
Lissandra is even more locked down, albeit on a longer cooldown. But still, they are basically playing exactly the same duo as far as the functionality.
And one of the most often heard criticisms, a sold up might have some action mid-air, of Chovy, is that that is rapid fire cannon done right now. As that's Lucianami. If you can get that around objective, which is why like this game is not over, as good as it is looking right now for Gen.G. Still need to very much respect. Viper is still very strong in this game. But as I was saying, one of the most often heard criticisms of Chovy, which I think at times fair, at times not necessarily, is that he prioritizes his own lane over, particularly in high-stakes situations, over impact on the map. So seeing him in particular get a pick like Lissandra and actually make so many plays around the map is a really cool showcase of why we rate this player so highly.
Yeah, especially, you know, I think that change actually happened halfway through last
year. Yeah. I mean, it's been ongoing, right? But I think that narratives like that stick around for a really long time.
Yeah. There is still, of course, the perception that kind of doesn't go away. That's why first impressions, guys, are very important. And Chovy is going to hold on to that one for quite some time, but he has definitely evolved into a different player now. The utility has been something that he's really leveled up with. And Gen.G are just going to walk down this mid lane, and still, Hanwha Life are desperately trying to defend. They will be able to keep this sliver of a turret alive, as Chovy is splitting on the top side. And Gen.G, I mean, they haven't won the game yet, but they haven't let up whatsoever. We're going to need some heroics from these Hanwha Life Esports players find themselves back into this.
I'm expecting a really hard, even if they don't get the Drake, like Gen.G should hard force a fight here. Chovy has TP as well, although there isn't a great flank setup besides that bot side ward. Because look at the items, right? Quick Blades done here for Paze. 2 items done for Chovy. 2 items done for Peanut. 2 items done for Doran. They're incredibly strong right now. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and take advantage.
And he's going to flash. The Frozen Tomb already down, but it's a mini-nah. He's not going to be able to do anything about this. Doran's gone all out as the wave is going to go by majestically, but not do anything. As Doran's still dashing forward. Don't know about that one. That's going to be Zeka locking down the kill. Double knock up into the backline, but it's a split fight. And already, Paze has taken down the Nami. Viper is exhausted. And Zeka and Viper can now do nothing about the onslaught of Gen.G. This is exactly what you were asking for, Chronicler, and Gen.G will be rewarded.
Gen.G's delivering. Misstep from Kingen on his trusty Gnar, gets taken down. Had such a good series against D+, but has been singled out often here. And the Gen.G composition is one that doesn't allow for mistakes. You can't be mispositioned. You can't be out of sight for even a second. It was that flank ward that we were talking about what actually ends up getting him the kill here. And yeah, Peanut goes in very deep.
Yeah, that's a grand entrance, the Vault Breaker, and a very dead Viger. Chovy not even there because he's taking down this outer turret on the bottom side. And man, 4 turrets now. They are wiping this map out.
This is a clinic.
It is. And Hanwha Life Esports just not looking like they've really showed up this time around in the same way. And maybe it says more about D+ than it did about
and I don't know about this play from Peanut. This is very optimistic. If that wave hits, he dies. Doran getting trolled there by the cage, almost timing out, but it doesn't matter, right? You've already killed Kingen as, oh no.
Sometimes life comes at you fast, and other times life is in the river, wandering towards a Baron Pit.
No, you come fast at life.
Oh yeah, well that definitely was what happened.
He's very dead.
Yes. Doran is on the bottom side of the map. Not exactly the fastest split pusher, but Demolish is going to help him out there. And Gen.G going to start off the Baron. TP in hand for the K'Sante. And I don't know whether they can get past Chovy.
There's bounties on the map.
Yeah. No, this is very much in shellacking territory. Baron is going to be consumed, and Gen.G, they can choose a lane. Bottom lane is prepped. Kingen, once again, overextended because this is a long walk. There it is. Frozen Tomb going to be used. The Gnar is going to be interrupted. And he is going to be able to crush, but he's still dead. Paze picks up the kill onto the Gnar. Viper looking for an outer turret in the mid lane in exchange.
If this isn't the most, like, Viper, the only one on this team who hasn't been taken down yet, just desperately getting a mid lane. That's a metaphor for what was Hanwha Life's, a large part of Hanwha Life's split, right? And against D+, they had a much better performance, but seeing what Gen.G are doing here, I don't think the series will be very reminiscent of yesterday, unless Hanwha Life can really make a miracle happen in either this game or game number 3. But in this game, I gotta say, with this draft, if the bot lanes were swapped, I could see it. But right now, I don't think it's happening, right? Like, Lissandra is too fed. They have the pick potential. They have full map control. There's not that much that you can do here unless Gen.G make major mistakes.
Whoa! I was pretty scared. As okay, there is cease and desist, and another ulti from Chovy.
Yeah.
Yes, Event Horizon comes in. Cool. And the inner turret is going to go down.
You know what this is?
Doran was dealing with earlier on. What is this?
This is actually a Gen.G callback to the first series they played against T1. At the start of the LCK. Because you know what happened to Paze that game? What Chovy is doing right now to everyone else.
That is actually true. It was game 2, right?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was not close. And
that was,
neither is this game.
That was one of the most impressive Lissandra games that I have seen. Chovy doing a decent job himself as the Everfrost is going to come forward. He gets exhausted and does go golden. Event Horizon is going to be there, so they might actually be able to get the kill. So they do. And as we were praising him, he does immediately go down. That makes it our fault, not Chovy's fault.
that one's on me. I cursed it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, I stand by my statement, Atlas. I think it's a fun
Just
historical similarity.
You can stand by the statement. Just don't make the statement again.
No, I won't. Don't you
that's
worry.
not very nice.
Oh. A little hiccup into Veigar. The value of a stopwatch can be a little bit less. Oh, the light. Why did you have to do that? Didn't have to finish. He finished Chemtech Putrefy.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's not a great item in the comp for obvious reasons. It's very self-explanatory pick here, and then this is where Chovy gets a little bit too excited. And if he, I think he always dies. Maybe if he like bubbles, but then Zek has it in time, and then he can stopwatch the cage.
His ult was like 3 seconds away from being up again.
Yeah, he could have just waited and it would be.
Yeah. I think that, sometimes you get that rush of blood and the casters are talking about you in a positive light and you're like, well, I'll just show them how good I am. And you go in.
But that's the type of moments you need. If Gen.G make a couple more of those, there are options. Chovy immediately look at the spell book. It's like, not again. Not having that happen to me.
I will not be Event Horizoned. And he can now move towards the side lane as well, as I'm not entirely sure. It's Peanut who paused it, but not entirely sure why at this point in time. Looks like a bit of a frame drop. So we're just going to make sure that everything's okay. This is often a turn it off and on again type situation. If you've had any experience in IT support, off and on again is generally how you fix 98% of computer-related issues. And I believe that is what we're going to be doing this time around as well.
I gotta say, Atlas, that game number 1, I was like, okay, that can happen. We saw it happen yesterday as well. But this game number 2 is giving me, is getting me a bit worried.
Well, I mean, it's getting me a bit excited for what Gen.G are going to be able to do in their next matchup, right? Like,
oh, I like that.
I
like that framing.
This is what's really cool, because we've seen Gen.G be able to overcome T1 in the past. For example,
one time
last year. But T1 have looked so extraordinarily good this season. The best of 5 against KT, went to 5 games and it was a banger, but KT are also a very good team at the moment. And Gen.G going to have to, shake it all off, and now with Pays as well, go up against the squad without, the ruler effect, which was, I think, a massive reason why Gen.G were able to overcome T1 at the end of summer. It's a really, really cool thing to see Gen.G performing at this level with that matchup looming on the horizon if they do manage to pick up the win.
And Gen.G fans also going to be happy. Hanwha Live fans, they are believers. Without a shadow of a doubt, as you pointed out, this team has an incredible amount of resilience in best of 5s. We have seen every world champion on that team was not expected, in different amounts, of course, but EDG wasn't really. Maybe they were the favorite in semis, but definitely not in finals.
Well, I don't think EDG were expected to win from LCK fans and commentators, but I think for the rest of the world, they were.
I feel like after the, because I remember the specifically because the semifinal between Gen.G and EDG did not look good, and the semifinal between T1 and Dom1 looked amazing.
Yeah, true.
It was a really high-level series, right? And I think that was why many people made jokes about, the real finals was in semis, when obviously that was a joke on the audience, because the real finals was EDG winning.
Yeah.
In an incredible 5-game series. And, well, I don't even have to mention last year. I assume everyone watched that.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was okay.
Yeah, and also 5-game series. It's just been a lot of 5-game series with a lot of these players. But I think it was grueling for both teams, right? I mean, EDG did the 15 games through knockouts. Same thing happened for DRX as well. So that same gauntlet was run for all of the world champions on the Hanwha Life Esports roster. When push came to shove, they were able to pick up the win. Now, they're not out of it, right? They'll be facing off against KT in the lower bracket if they do lose here. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is only game number 2. Gen.G gonna have to win a whole extra game after this if they are going to make it towards the next winners match in the next round, meaning that they still have that backup, the ability to fight for a spot at MSI.
Well, we just lost the soul, but that's not that big a deal because, well,
It's
Chemtech.
Yeah, and also you want to get to an Elder Flip a little bit faster. Hey, there we go. We managed to get out this time. It's been a lot of Hanwha Life Esports players just kind of not being able to get out. As Clid waits for his Q cooldown before getting over the wall. I like that. And Hanwha now find themselves once again with no turrets outside of their base walls and just trying to hold on for dear life.
And it's also, again, a Gen.G draft that is fairly short range, so they're going to rely on either diving, which into this comp, good luck. There is Gnar, Veigar, and Nami, so not going to be really able to do that. But if you get a Baron here, you're completely fine. And that's what I expect them to try and do. We are going to be up in about a minute. And there is also, of course, Elder, and if you time this well, you know, you take the Baron, you push down like a top inhib, it makes your setup for a subsequent Elder extremely easy, and with Elder, losing is very hard, particularly when you have a snowballing pick like Lissandra, who once the first kill comes through, kind of runs over fights. Expect that to be the case here as well, and Hanwha Life, even on blue side, really struggling here in this best of 5 Atlas.
Yeah, it's not really working. Whatever the game plan was, Gen.G had a better counter option available for themselves, and I was actually worried when I saw the Lissandra Cassante, just because when we've seen it picked in the past, obviously it's been working in scrims and things for a lot of teams. This is the first time that Gen.G have tried to employ it, but it did just look like it didn't have enough damage. They're not able to get themselves across the line, but with the way that they played the early game, with the snowball that was set up, it's really beautifully done. Okay, Gen.G with full control of the vision, and Delight able to get over towards his Xayah, without the event horizon ruining his day.
Clid, is this the flank to end all flanks? Well, he chose himself, so no. Yeah, they have 0 map control. I don't think that they can test his Baron at all.
Yeah, I think this this Baron is definitely going to Gen.G. There's not a lot of ability
Safe
to...
bet. Yeah.
And this is Hanwha Life Esports, the calm before the storm. You know, like, I feel like it's what, Pippin and Gandalf looking out over Gondor, seeing the clouds in the horizon, knowing that, you know, you're going to have the battle scene that lasts for about 3 hours coming up immediately after.
I gotta say, I actually like the Battle of Helm's Deep more.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess, you know, it was orchestrated well, as Doran's going to get knocked up into the sky and taken out. So Zeka able to get a kill back for Hanwha Life Esports. Chovy's made that play before, not going to follow the claw this time as Peanut gets himself out. Viper now looks for Chovy. He gets slowed down as now he dashes forward. Viper not able to get the extra auto onto Delight. But Gen.G, fresh off a Baron, not actually finding it as Viper is just playing so aggressively here. The Tidecaller's blessing as well is making things so difficult. Really enjoying how they're able to defend in that instance. But I think it's like kind of, 15 to 20 minutes too late? 30 minutes?
It's a minus 500 Baron power play. You'll take that. If you can trade evenly and not lose any inhibs, I don't think the game's unwinnable. And if you do win this game, you are going to be feeling a lot better. As if I'm not mistaken, Doran did actually have, at the very least, I think he had like either Flash and or his Stoneblade available here. And maybe underestimating the damage that the Element were able to do. Or maybe he didn't have it available. Not 100% sure. Didn't check before because I thought he was fine.
Yeah.
And then he just went down very quickly. And in about a minute and a half, this Baron buff is going to wear out. And if you don't take an inhib, you can still set up for vision control, you can still choke out, and Hanwha Life are probably going to have to just run in blind and then die.
Well, Delight is going to have to grand exit from that one. Peanut comes on over to clear out this control ward. Does manage to do so as the entirety of Gen.G are set up in the area.
Yeah, they're just setting up for Elder. It looks like this Baron is kind of a bust. They lost a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Off of that kill.
Peanut going to continue to make things as dark as possible.
Viper, man. He is unrelenting. The light on vision here.
Yeah. Looking for a back timing, and this is where Hanwha knows they have 4v5, or 5v4, I guess, on the map. Or a 3v4, considering the top laners have abandoned. Reset time before the Elder does come up in 55 seconds. And still, full vision control available for Gen.G in this bottom side jungle.
And I gotta say, I think Zeka will be able to finish his death cap. But going for Void be full death cap here, besides the Cassandra, there isn't that much MR. Actually doesn't have it yet. Still 200.
He does have
up.
360 stacks though.
No, I know, but like, you need death cap.
Well, true. Cease and desist comes in. That is a very dead jungler, guys.
Never mind.
And that is really bad news. Kingen takes so much from the Frozen Thrall as well. As now the culling going to be used. Viper looking for his opportunity, but everyone moves so quickly. They are going to be able to get out of the way.
Like, it's very unfortunate. Oh, Doran.
All right, I've seen this one before. As Kingen's throwing things around. There's the flash to get out of the way of the bubble. And Viper does have to flash to escape Chovy here, as Life is going to give himself up for the good of the colony. And Gen.G now with 2 picks on both of the utility champions on the side of Hanwha Life Esports. This should mean that Elder is just freely collected by this squad, and they have just not let go of control of the entire series so far. In these first 2 games, it has been Gen.G just running the entire show.
Yep, for the entire duration of both games.
Yeah.
And Elder gonna get picked up here now. Hopefully that will allow Gen.G to actually clean out the win here and be tough. But you also see, like, Hanwha Life isn't losing because I do think that, like, diving against this team, hard engaging against this team is very hard. But when it comes as, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really, really good. Obviously, here, by waiting, you maximize the amount of overlap you're going to have with Baron and Elder.
Yeah,
right? So
give it a little bit of time.
Yeah, because they're not close. You have full control of the bot side jungle. And you're already able to move towards the top half of the map.
Yeah, holding it for as long as possible, and there it is.
Man, love that. You don't see optimizations like that very often. Really, really cool here.
I think you only ever really see it when someone's about to respawn.
Yeah,
that is
one
the
we see a
only
lot.
real time that you get to see it, instead of waiting to make sure that they can utilize it to get some push, and then go back and guarantee a Baron with the Elder. And as we see, they'll have a minute of time.
A full minute with Exodia. That should be enough.
I have a feeling that they didn't even really need the Baron. However, they are now going to make sure that playing by the book is the most guaranteed way to win that they can get. Because they did make a couple of hiccups, right? Like Chovy falling down, Doran finding a death there, but it's really, in the grand scheme of things, not going to affect the fact that I'm giving them at least an A+ for this performance in this game so far.
What would you rather get, an A+ or an S-?
An A+, absolutely. Because if I got an S-, I'd be wondering like why it isn't an S. Whereas if I got an A+,
they're like, nice.
I can just say there isn't an S.
Okay, but there, in this hypothetical, there is an S, and you know it exists.
No, but I don't have to explain to whoever I'm telling that I got an A+, that an S exists.
There you go.
It looks way better.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Exodia getting drawn here.
Yeah, just going to be picked up, and not a lot of response, much like the last time, is going to be available. Hanwha Life sort of grasping at straws. There's just not a lot of options as far as what they can do. It's only really Viper that's capable of trying to do anything in this game, is what I've sort of noticed.
Gen.G, we do have to go now. There's 40 seconds. Gotta pull the trigger somewhere. That's a choice.
Well, Doran he's not very afraid. Peanut going to be clearing out control vision here towards his bottom side, as they are going to utilize these lanes, try and get something done. Event Horizon now on cooldown. That could be something they can use. And yeah, with this Elder still available, they are going to at least break open the base. I mean, what's the option? What are you supposed to do against this? As he just pulls him through the wall. It's a great double bubble, but I think I know what it means, and not a whole lot, as they take down the Gnar like he was nothing, like he was a paperweight. As Life now on his fountain, and Gen.G, they will obliterate Hanwha Life Esports here in game number 2 and set themselves up for a very early match.
Got that. 'Cause you got that.